And 10 Free State schools, which yielded good results in 2012, will receive millions of rands in infrastructure upgrades today and tomorrow. Kagiso Trust and the Free State Education Department will launch the upgrades at 9 high schools and 1 primary school for achieving the benchmark of a 75% average pass rate. The schools will receive new libraries, science laboratories and computer centres. Kagiso Trust CEO Thabo Mafutsanyana says the Free State is the only province benefiting from the programme.
We had to walk away from other provinces because the provincial education department in those provinces just could not commit the money that they promised to commit. And with the Free State, I think it was a completely different case. We started the project in the Free State in 2008. And we started it in 10 schools. And when the MEC saw the success, he then expanded the program to 167 schools.
Over 20 schools will benefit from the programme.
Now we'll go back to our conversation this time around. We're focusing on the very same issue of the schools development. And it's not just schools development, students development, education advanced, with hands joined between the Kagiso Trust and the Department of Education. And this time around we see drastic progress. Hopefully we could stretch this out to other provinces. And I see learning points that you would like to share with other education departments in other provinces, like where I come from. I come from the Eastern Cape. One of the provinces that are struggling. What would you like to share? The learning points, talking points that you'd like to share with them?
Well, if you ask me what we did as the Department of Education in the Free State, when I started as an MEC in 2009, my focus was on maths and science. Actually, what happened was that we did an analysis and check where are the problematic subjects. And in fact, for many people don't know that in things like English and all these other things were doing very, very, very well. But the problem was mathematics and science, and that's why I was linking the history to that. And then we then focused on mathematics and science, and then when Kagiso Trust came in, we said, look guys, let's work on mathematics and science. There's English, there's other things and so on. People can pick them up, but these ones are the gateway subjects that make people to be engineers, doctors, and so on. And then we really did focus on that. We put a budget on that, right? We developed a strategy that we called ENSTA, English, Mathematics, Science, and Technology, and Accounting, and then we put a budget on that. We went out of our way to go and look at other supportive programs. We went to India, for an example. We identified HEMES, it's a computer program that can teach children mathematics, right? And then we bought that program for about 150 schools in our province. I also looked at the quality of our math teachers, and then we started taking them over the weekend to train them. We identified people who can train them to work on the teacher content knowledge. If you compare what is being taught in grade 8 and 9, is more closer to what we were doing in the old standard 9 and 10, okay, right? So you see that at primary schools you may find teachers who have done TTC, maybe they got the matric through, Tamelin and all these other things. The content understanding of mathematics is challenged. So we focus on that, teacher development. We also then focus on things like accounting, same things. So we have been focusing along on teachers. We also developed programs to deal with the learners themselves, where we say our best subject advisors, if you're a good subject advisor, you must also be able to teach. So many of our subject advisors, from time to time, especially during revision time, they do teach. And lastly, one thing that we have been working on, I think we have achieved it for the first time this year, is to make sure that now people finish syllabus around June, July, and latest August, right? In the past, people were not finishing syllabus early, so we worked with the teachers, and also thanks to CAPS that has been introduced by the minister. But we've been able to reach a stage where we finish syllabus early, so that children can start revision. And at that level of revision, you then choose the best teachers in communities to be able to teach that. So we've been to do that, and also motivating teachers. And that's why I raise this issue that when everybody talks as if teachers are useless and all these other things and so on and so on, that's not fair. We've got a lot of very good teachers, very, very committed, who needs to be assisted there and there. But also the issue of governance. We looked at the issues of governance, SGPs, because they are the ones who appoint principals, they are the ones who appoint teachers, and we looked at them and said, what can be done? And then I think where we are now, we've started a very good partnership with with this governance structure.
All right. I want us to crunch numbers there. When you say you've matched the Department of Education rand for rand, how much money exactly did you spend?
In total, we have about 177 schools that benefited from the 200 million that we've invested. And that's really how you should probably look at it. Not just the number, but also the number of schools that are benefiting.
Would it be fair to assume, or perhaps you could give some clarity, did all these schools yield such results?
Very excited that most of our high schools now know that, for example, the culture of rewarding for performance is becoming quite a major thing in the Free State generally. And just to give an example, last year we had 44 schools, high schools on our program. Of the 44 schools, 30 schools performed between 75 and 100%. And that's how we've seen the schools in the program progressively meeting our ambition with the Free State Education Department is to have all schools in this district perform. When we say they've underperformed from it.
I'm a product of Bantu education myself. Where was Kagiso Trust then? Let's talk to Rambin. Rambin, what exactly would you like to share with other students about programs like these? Now, the reason why I'm asking you this question, I want other trusts like these and other departments out there in other provinces to listen to what a student has to say with what they can do to help students who really want to learn.
What I would actually say is that if you are working hard, you would ultimately get the reward. Because I would also urge each and every student, or particularly those who are still in high school, to work hard. Because I think if we have to go to all the high school learners, I think we need to create that mantra of hard work into their mind. Because if you want to achieve anything, you cannot achieve what you want to achieve if you are sitting behind and you are not doing anything. So you have to put your effort, and you have to put with everything that you have. You need to put your mind and your soul into everything that you want to be at the end of the day. So working hard, I think for me, this is what I would urge them to do.
Working hard. Parents tell their children work hard. Being the MEC would say students should go and study, and the minister would say, and she did say right just before July, she did say students should study, prepare themselves. Now's the time. What is it that you have done differently now? Because parents will always be saying that, MECs will always be saying that, the teachers, the ministers will always be saying that. But what did you do differently now with the partnership between the Department of Education and Kagiso Trust?
For me, personally, I think if you are to tell a person to work hard, you need to break down the word hard work so that a person can understand what you are actually saying. This is how I break down the hard work for me. While I was still in high school, you will get your teacher in front of you, and then the teacher would be giving the lesson in a class. And then what you have to do as an individual, on your own, you must just make sure that a day doesn't go by without revising that thing which you studied in a class.
All right. Now, gentlemen, we're going to conclude our conversation right now, and I want to give you both parting shots. I'll start with the MEC. Parting shots. When we conclude this conversation, what would you like the listeners out there and other departments out there, and perhaps the parents of these learners, to walk away with? When they say we were listening to the MEC speaking, what should they say the MEC was saying?
When we say work hard, we also identified specific interventions, or the simple concept that is known error analysis. When children have answered questions, we taught teachers how to do error analysis so that they can go there and understand what are the misconceptions that these children may have. And in most cases, once you see the misconceptions of the children, you also now understand the misconception of the teacher. And that is where then we will design a course specifically to deal with that problem. All right? And at the end, what I want the people to know there is that, yes, we have a history, as I always say, but we have an opportunity, right? So I'm not saying we must delve on the history. I'm saying that we must recognize it's real, but also to try new things, to think that mathematics can be done, to make sure that now children at the lower levels study mathematics, to make sure that parents check the homeworks of their children, especially on mathematics and English, because those are two subjects that are creating us problems in the whole schooling system. And what we are going to do as the Free State, as I was talking to him now, that we have identified another area of intervention. I think we are doing well now in grade 10, 11, 12. But we are now identified a new area of intervention, which is grade 8, 7, 8, 9, the intermediate phase, which I think, if you go to schools, you will see that there's many classes of grade 9s compared to grade 12s. So we have coined something called Operation Bula, where we are going to ensure that now we focus there, teach them mathematics, and make sure that now they can be able to pass and be better people. Right. I think we can do it as South Africans.
For me, two things. One, that we as a country need to be able to set high standards for teachers. And when you set high standards for teachers, teachers deliver. That is one. Secondly, I think it is important for us to begin to recognize performance. And sometimes I have a problem in this country when teachers do well, we never recognize them. Both schools did not tell you that for 100%, the schools are taken out on a holiday outing. We have a bit of a problem now because all our schools now want to perform at 100% because they know there's this reward. And I think we need to bring back, we need to inculcate a culture of recognizing and rewarding performance. And this is what in the Free State the MEC has tried to do, is to begin to make people understand. If you work hard, I would reward you. The MEC has not spoken about the special project where schools that perform above 90 and 100%, he gives them allowances to build halls. And for me, I think this is what we need to bring excitement in education. We must make teachers begin to feel appreciated. But honestly speaking, I think set high standards for them, they deliver to your standard, to your expectations.
The voice of Kagiso Schoolman, CEO of the Kagiso Trust. Thank you very much for coming to reach out.
Thank you.
And also the MEC of the Free State Education Department, Tate Makgoe. Thank you very much for coming through and talking to us.
Moving from education financing in Namibia, we look at corporate social investment expenditure, which continues to grow in South Africa, amounting to 6.9 billion rand in 2012. In addition to this, education continues to receive the most support and the largest share of CSI spend. But the challenge of poor education standards continue to persist in rural South Africa. Joining me in studio to look at an innovative approach to academic performance is Kagiso Trust Chairman Zwo Navadalo. Well, thank you so much for making the time to join us. Very interestingly, coming from that chat with Quentin to find out that, in fact, Kagiso Trust is the founder of South Africa's NSFAS program.
Yes, actually, we conceptualized the bursary program when we were still getting a lot of support from the European Union. It used to be called Education Aid Program. In fact, a lot of the South African leadership who actually graduated at universities benefited from that program.
A very big program, of course, in South Africa. But if we go back to the Kagiso Trust, and in particular to the Beyers Naudé program that we're talking about today, talk us through how this program differentiates itself from other programs that we see in the educational landscape, and in particular in trying to raise the standard of education in rural South Africa.
Well, yes, you just spoke about the CSI funding, where you have got a lot of money that goes into education, but maybe the impact is not as great as the resources which are there. What we do with the Beyers Naudé, we call it a whole school development program, which means that we look at all the other elements which would make a school work or function much better. And the foundation of that is really relationships within the school, whether you have a buy-in from the learners, from the educators, from the school principal. Then you bring in the issue of parents as well. And once you do have some kind of a compact, you know, an understanding of what that school is supposed to do, what are the key deliverables, you actually have a very good foundation on which to be able to build a better learner attainment program on that. So once we do that, we get that right, we then look at other gaps within the schools. And it might be the area of teachers themselves in terms of skilling them much better. And then while that process is going on, you begin to see a dramatic improvement in learner attainment in the results. And then we then reward schools that are performing better through infrastructure. So we don't really begin with infrastructure. And if you look at a lot of programs, you see to invest in building relationships, it's a very demanding and tiring kind of an activity. So very often it's easy to just throw money at a problem. But we really get involved and engaged with the school first and foremost, and then with the whole community. So you get a very wonderful kind of ownership that goes around the community as well.
So on the far end, or on the outcome end, we've begun to see this different thinking where you bring in infrastructure based on performance that the school has attained. But if we go back, Zwo, to the matric pass rate last year, which was sitting at its highest at 73.9. I understand that Kagiso Trust sets a benchmark of 80% before the infrastructure comes in. This must speak volumes of the robustity or of the programs that you're actually implementing to turn around the performance. Help me understand what drives this optimism and what are the time frames? How long does it take to turn around a school?
In fact, it doesn't take as long as many people think. You know, the school can be turned around within a year.
Yeah.
You know, it has to do with a lot of commitment, clearly, as I say, at a school level, and the way these relationships are working together with the learners and so on. But we also depend quite a lot on you see, our model build on partnership with the whole government, precisely because we're actually targeting to uplift the educational attainment of poor learners. And when we look at sustainability of that, it is really government that is providing education to the poorest of the poor. And whatever investment we did, we actually strengthened the efforts of government in partnership with them. So while you get the whole team coming together, the MEC, very often the minister as well, you know, you actually have a very good team that actually works together, and you're likely to produce results. So it doesn't take long.
To turn around that school?
No, actually it doesn't take long. You know, you find there's a lot of vibrancy, there's an excitement, and there's ownership, there's buy-in, and actually people are going to surprise you at the way they're able to reach quite their fullest potential with a lot of odds and a lot of constraints facing them.
I understand that the nuts and bolts of the investment that is being made in this particular year is to the tune of around 13 million rand. Now, that isn't small change. How have you managed to bring in the private sector? And I'm assuming that the funding comes from the private sector. In light of just the donor fatigue that business probably has when it comes to throwing money